Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon, and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show. Now, we are joined by Quantum Eraser, The Plain Truth, Ranty Flat Earth, Jessica, Pete, Paul, Chocolate, Arwin, 10th Man, and I think that's pretty much it. Good to have you all.
Hello, what ho?
Good afternoon.
Good morning.
Hello.
Hello, good to have you all. Any signs of curvature?
Nope.
Nah.
Earth curvature, right? Because
Yeah.
I've seen curvature, that's not Earth curvature.
You're going to be one of those, I can tell.
Do you
Hey, Gus,
like
how you doing,
curvature?
Gus? Can you hear us? Can you hear us, Gus?
Yes, I can. I switched over to Chrome. I think Safari had trouble.
Cool. Hopefully you can take part in housekeeping. Any signs of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety, Jessica?
Yes. I mean, no, I haven't seen any.
You're an asset.
Nope.
Yes, but no, but. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Scientific evidence of what?
Gravity.
I was waiting for that. I love that.
Nah.
No.
Any
Travis,
evidence?
I actually did miss that, though.
Yeah, Travis, where you been?
I've been working late hours and I just been sleeping in, and then I get lazy and yada yada yada.
Fair enough. Any evidence that you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container?
Absolutely not.
Just look in the atmosphere, Nathan.
Walk outside.
Look at the sky. That proves unicorn farts, right? No. No violations of that second law of thermodynamics. We've become
Maybe
so.
it's a
Wait,
unicorn.
P.
fart.
Mars, did you just say Jupiter? P. Mars, did you just say Jupiter?
Hey Nathan, maybe it's the unicorn farts that are preventing the atmosphere.
Wait, Arwen. I'm trying to hear P. Mars. Did
Yeah,
you
he
just
said
say
it.
Jupiter?
He said it.
That's your proof that gas can exist without a container? Tell us all about it, P.
Oh, like Jupiter. Yeah, you can see Jupiter, right, with the telescope, and it's got clouds on it, and there's no observable container around Jupiter. And we know, I think you need gas pressure for clouds to exist.
How do you know they're clouds?
How do you know it's not inside the container?
I know that they're not clouds. Do you know how I know that, P?
How do you know that?
Because there's this thing called the second law of thermodynamics. It's basically entropy. So if that is a cloud, a high pressure gas, then it's going to want to expand in all directions. Now, if the claim is that that gas is next to a vacuum, then it's not possible. It wouldn't be there. Because if that was the case, the gas would disperse into the vacuum. But it's not, so it definitely isn't gases or clouds or any such assertion, because it would violate a law of nature. So I know for absolute certain that it's not a gas, P, based on that natural law.
What if hypothetically there was some sort of force that was counteracting?
Then you'd have to prove it.
Hold on.
You guys can't even prove a force here,
no.
let alone on Jupiter.
Oh, hold on a second. I'm in agree with him there. Yeah, I agree, P. The force is called unicorn farts. You want to know the proof of them? Look through your telescope at Jupiter, my friend. There's the proof.
The second law would read out differently if there was this force you're talking about.
No, what about the unicorn farts? You haven't taken them into consideration now, have you, 10th man? That's why it's a gas.
Yeah,
because of unicorn
I have a
farts.
bias. I have a bias against unicorns.
You deny unicorns. Wow.
Yeah, I don't see them in reality.
Right, I don't need to show you unicorns. We all know unicorns are real.
I
Well,
deny
Nathan-
cow.
Well, hold on. Maybe
I
Nathan.
feel like
has a
that's a
point.
categorical logical fallacy because unicorns are not meant to be
But
taken
hold
as
on.
real. So
But
Oh,
hold
really?
on.
Oh, that's
no,
hold on,
that's
that's where I was
not
leading
true.
him. Oh,
If I
God.
may.
That was where I was
If I
leading
may.
him. What's that you say, P? That's a fallacy because we can't show unicorns. That's fantastic. Can you show me gravity, please, P?
yeah. I've shown it on the panel. I've shown you the Cavendish, right?
No, that's
Oh, God.
balls in a shed. That's not gravity.
Well, gravity
No.
is the force that the balls attracting to each other.
Oh, that doesn't happen ever. We never experience any mass attracting other mass. That doesn't happen ever. That's a nonsense.
See, this is the only reason you guys want to fight so hard for
Hold on.
experiments of you.
Oh, hold on. No, PP. Like unicorns, you saying you can't show me gravity? Because that man-made thing that you're describing, we had this conversation. That's a man-made thing, isn't it? That's not a natural phenomena of unicorns. I mean gravity.
Wait, the Cavendish is man-made?
Yeah, definitely. Do you want to know who made it? A reverend. His name's John Mitchell. Reverend John Mitchell. He made it. A man. A priest. Your priest. So this is your priest, Reverend John Mitchell, and his man-made balls. You like the balls of this priest, do you, P?
I like the balls of the priest, yes.
Yes, you like the balls of this priest. Yes, that's correct. You like Reverend John Mitchell and his balls.
I got molested by a Catholic priest.
Yeah, no, we're not talking about molestation. We're talking about Reverend John Mitchell's Cavendish / Reverend John Mitchell's balls and how much you like them because you think they prove gravity when it's just a man-made device. You're not showing me gravity. You're showing me Reverend John Mitchell's balls.
I was indoctrinated to like balls when I was an altar boy for the Catholic
That's lovely.
Church.
Show me gravity because so far it's the same as unicorns, P. Do I show you a stuffed toy unicorn to prove unicorns? Because you're showing me something that a man made also, aren't you? These balls. Reverend John Mitchell's balls. That's what you're showing me. So if I go and get Tommy Nobody's unicorn that he's made to prove unicorns, is that a satisfactory facsimile of a unicorn?
What?
Yeah.
I think unicorns would be in a different because unicorns aren't meant to be taken as real. They're a fan. Everyone accepts them as like a fantasy, but gravity is something that people think is real.
Appeal to consensus, eh? Oh, well, that's not going to work here. All right, let's see. Let's go down the line. 10th man, do you believe in gravity?
No, I don't.
Arwin, do you believe in gravity? Staying silent. Is he abstaining? We don't know. This could be a tense moment. We'll come back to you, Arwin. Chocolate saying, do you believe in gravity? We're looking for consensus here.
You mean the magical force of the floor? Absolutely not.
What about you, Paul? Do you believe in gravity?
Depends on how you define it. If you go back to the original definition as weight or heaviness, then I can believe in gravity in that sense, but not this force thing that everybody talks about.
Oh, that's a shame. That's what we're talking about. Torsion bar twist in this instance. Gus, wild card. Might be on your side here, P. What do you reckon, Gus? Gravity, yay or nay?
I've been struggling with gravity. So far, I don't see any proof for it.
Oh, bummer. Maybe your last chance there, P. What about you, Jessica? You on consensus side like P suggests?
I agree with what Paul said in terms of the definition, and I actually think that was done on purpose. The fact that it's called gravity and it literally means weight. But anyway, the mass striking mass, no, I do not believe in that.
What about you, Ranty?
No, don't believe in it.
So, unbelievably, unless Arwin challenges us at the end, we've only got one last hope for you, P. Travis, you going to save his ass?
Do I believe in what?
I'll take that as a no. So consensus is definitely not on your side here, P. So even though you've appealed, you've been fallacious, but it doesn't even stack up with the people here right now, right? So it's just you who believes in unicorns then.
Yeah, I wasn't really arguing consensus. I was just saying like it's a different category, unicorns and gravity, because gravity is real and unicorns is fantasy. It's not fair. It's not a good
I like to push back
compared
on
to like
that.
apples and oranges.
Actually, how do you?
I'm a bit quiet. Hold on a second. Just 1 second.
How do you know?
Just 1 second, Paul. Are you suddenly further away from your mic or something, P?
Someone's got,
Yeah, I was talking quiet. Yeah, I don't know.
someone's got some background noise.
All right, I've turned him up a little bit. Go ahead, Paul. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're saying assuming that the unicorns are fictional characters, correct? That's what you said, P. P.
I said unicorns are meant to be fantasy. It's a different category. It's things that are real.
Could they be an extinct species of animal that existed a long time ago? And this idea of mythical creature or or whatever, you know, could be based in fact. So they could have existed at some point and be real. Is that possible? I know this is a fallacious argument, but I'm asking the question. Okay, so you can't really say they aren't real or fantasy because they could have existed at some point in the past.
Well,
right.
I could say it's fantasy because I would say most people would accept that unicorns are meant to be fantasy, like Santa Claus or Easter Bunny, and it's not the same. It's things that are real that we experience in the real world. So I think it's like a different category.
Well, Santa Claus is based on a real person
Categorical
that
logical
existed.
fallacy.
So no, so you know Santa Claus is based on a real person, right?
Yeah, but no one thinks Santa Claus is like really flying around the world giving children presents.
Oh, that's not my point. Now, there may be this idea of mythical or magical powers attributed to Santa Claus, but he is based on a real person.
You got half a concession, Paul. You almost said it, Pete. For the sake of his argument, I think, you know, can you not just concede that there's a possibility unicorns could have existed?
Yeah, I can see that, yeah.
P believes in unicorns. What an idiot.
So, Pete, what I'm catching you saying is the illogical cannot exist in reality.
No, I'm saying it's a categorical logical fallacy to compare something that's fantasy to something in reality.
So what you're saying is it's illogical and it cannot exist in reality, correct?
It can exist in
because it's illogical and it doesn't exist in reality, therefore it's not real, correct?
No, I'm just saying that it's like there's such a thing as fiction and nonfiction, right? Like you don't think Jurassic Park is real because it's a book someone wrote, right?
Yeah, but we're talking about this subject in reality. So let me say it this way. There can't be in reality a non-unicorn unicorn. You can't hold both sides, right? Because it's not in reality, they don't exist. If they were in reality, they would exist. Which one is it?
They don't exist.
So it's not reality.
Right.
Okay, so now let's go to gravity. Show us.
Gravity is
Show us.
backed
No,
up
don't
by
tell us.
experiments.
No, not experiments. Show us. Independent, dependent, control.
I've shown-
Show us.
Yeah, I've shown the Cavendish experiment.
Oh, so planes do go to their destination, what? Quicker?
Somebody say experiment?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was
You
talking about
said
Cavendish
experiment. Okay. Nathan? You know the drill.
John is like the police of the policeman of science.
All right, P. Since they're entertaining you, I don't know why. I don't know why I'm doing. I guess everyone's bored. Natural phenomena observed, please.
Mass attracts mass.
All right. So, you know that this observed phenomena is your dependent variable, correct? You understand that? All right, what's the
The
alternative
dependent
hypothesis?
variable is the force of gravity.
So the force. So the force of gravity. Put this together. All right, the force of gravity causes mass attracting mass. Is that your final answer? Hello.
Oh, I'm saying mass creates a force that we call gravity, causing
No,
mass to
I
be
already got it.
attracted to
Mass
mass.
attracts mass. All right, that's your observed. Can you show us a picture of this?
A picture? No.
Oh, so you didn't observe it. Can you even define mass? Let's
Well,
start here.
Yeah, we can
Define
observe
mass.
a force like with a scale. You can measure
Define
it.
mass.
Wouldn't A have to be mass?
Define mass.
Yeah, you need to define mass.
An object's ability to resist force.
That's inertia.
Is it?
Yep.
Yep. So yesterday, just for the audience's benefit, same question came up, and the answer given was the amount of stuff inside something versus its volume. Now, that was a different definition that P's just given. So
No, mass is a measure of an object's ability to resist motion.
Inertia. We just literally just said that
physics.
2 seconds ago. So my point was slightly different though, Pete. We got a different definition yesterday. The amount of matter contained, which would be a mole. So why would we be in a position where this...
Well, there's different definitions. That was the definition from chemistry. The definition in physics is an object's ability to...
Chemistry
resist
falls
motion
under
or
physics.
movement.
They're a brain surgeon.
No, chemistry and physics are not the same.
Chemistry falls under physics. All the real
Falls
sciences
under-
fall under physics.
The quantity of matter in an object.
So I'm still at a loss, P. So phenomena...
There's different definitions of words between
Yeah, well, that's an
fields.
equivocation fallacy then.
So where do we
You're
see
a
this
clown.
natural phenomena, P? Where do
What
we see...
fallacy?
Where do
I
we
don't
see
think that's
the
fallacy.
natural phenomena, mass attracts mass? Where can we see? That was my original question. Where do we see... Show us gravity.
Like all the time, like when you feel, when you go weigh yourself, you feel the weight of anything
Oh
that you
my
pick up
God.
that's heavy.
Hold on. When you say again, P, when you weigh yourself.
Yeah.
Well, that's medium specific though, isn't it?
Medium specific?
Yes,
weight
medium
has
specific.
Weight,
Yeah.
the force of gravity that you feel.
No, it's medium specific.
What is medium what do you, I don't understand.
Okay, so when you hear the example of someone saying a leaf falling from a tree, well, because it's in the medium of air, it goes in a particular direction versus its starting point. Well, if it's at the bottom of an ocean or a pool or a lake or whatever, and the same thing happens, a leaf detaches from that plant, there's a good chance it'll go up. based on the medium. Same thing if you weigh yourself. In your example, weigh yourself. Well, yeah, in the medium of air, I'll weigh what is a given conceptual idea based on a number on a scale with a spring attached to it, and I can attribute a number to what you call weigh in air. But if I go to the bottom of a pool, it's trying to force me to the top of it. Medium specific, P.
Yeah, that's a buoyant force created by gravity.
Sorry, you keep saying these things that could be attributed as a cause and then saying because of gravity. So when I say show me gravity, what you're going to show me is a buoyant force? So buoyancy, where do you naturally see that happening?
See, like, you see something floating on the water.
So where are you getting gravity from then? So we've got two things in opposition then. Me on a scale and something floating to the top. So we've got a complete contrasting set of circumstances to prove this force. This isn't observing gravity, that's my point, P. So we're back to the same question. Where do I see this thing? Like unicorns that you believe in and cannot show us. Gravity, P, where do I see it?
It's not like visible, but you can measure it, feel it.
Right, like I can measure unicorn farts by looking at the amount of blue in the sky. That sort of measuring.
Yeah, that would be a categorical logical fallacy.
Yeah, you seem to have learnt one fallacy and are now attributing it to everything.
Can he post that fallacy, please?
Well, look, you keep making the same argument, and it's a logical fallacy.
Can he post that
I'm just
fallacy,
trying
please?
to
I think
point
you
it
should
out
post
to you
it.
because you like to point out everyone else's logical fallacy,
Mars,
but you don't seem to care about making your own.
You keep talking about a force you have no proof
Hold
for.
on.
That's the
Hold
problem.
on. Let's let P have his moment. Okay, P. Formalise it with what we've said so we understand the fallacy. I don't understand what you mean, P. Maybe you could explain this fallacy to us.
No, I can't.
So you're charging me with something you don't understand? Seriously?
Yep. Yep. Same show.
I can't define everything. Like, I'm not a dictionary.
Okay. So far we've got something that we can't see when we're talking about gravity. It's looking ever more like unicorns, P.
Yeah, that's not a good argument. All right.
What? So just acceptance of your fantasy fundy belief in this thing you can't show us?
You can show you the experiments, like
No, that comes later.
change-
No, Pete, you don't understand how this works. First step in the scientific method is to observe a phenomena. The experiment comes when you want to establish the cause of the phenomena. So we're not at the experimental stage yet. First,
That's not actually correct.
We're failing.
That's retarded.
Sorry,
You're a
Pete.
retard. That's some nigger science.
All right, kick him out.
No need, P.
I mean, do you think you are the scientific establishment or authority or something? You're telling me what science is?
That
You know what the fuck? You got some African nigger.
Oh, jeez. Once maybe you get away with it, but losing and just making me kick you out is just so unreasonable on me, P. Come on, be fair. Unreal.
He's doing that on purpose.
Yeah, he wanted
So,
to
do
be
we want to
kicked.
summarize this?
Yeah.
Before we go off screen, even though he's a clown, most of the clowns do the same thing. So let's summarize. He can't define mass. He hasn't observed mass attracting mass, and he can't define mass. The alternative hypothesis is a begging the question fallacy, because this is what you're trying to prove, the force of gravity. It can't be in your premise. So, and his null hypothesis is babbling retard. So, that'll be about it.
Yeah. Show us gravity. If you can't show us a phenomena, it's unicorns. Hey, Physics Warrior. Can you hear us? Hello?
Noise psychics.
I think we've got a slight issue with Physics Warrior's mic. He comes off mute. We hear a bit of background noise and then we don't hear a hello.
Well, that, like usual, they got no facts, no proofs, then they ad hom and get crude.
I'd like to go back on the topic before the show started, if it's possible, because I want to ask
Can
some
I
questions.
can I
John's
jump in
on here.
just real quick, Paul? Can I just jump in real quick and then I'll let you do that?
Go ahead.
I guess. Go ahead.
Sorry. I've been meaning to do this for a while, but I just keep forgetting about it. But I want to give a big shout out to Shelley Lewis, who is heading up a flat Earth documentary in response to Behind the Curve and Logan Paul. And right now, she and her team are in Denver to film the FE Corps performing their Force the Line. And so, just want you guys to keep your antennas up and ears to the ground to follow up with what they're doing. And let's see what. There you have a GoFundMe if you want to support their endeavor. And the actual Facebook group, if you want to look it up, is called the Flat Earth. I'm sorry, the Plain Truth documentary.
Is that an experiment?
He deliberately cut that word off the end, I believe.
I said it's the Plain Truth documentary on Facebook. If you want to follow up there and contribute in any way.
And I asked, is that an experiment?
Is what an experiment, Johnny?
Force the Line.
I made no claims. All I said was that FE Corps is in Denver and they're performing Force the Line.
No further questions.
Excellent stuff. Can you just remind us the actual plug, but before Paul picks up the mic, just plug them again so that people can get to their Facebook page and such. Please, Travis.
Yeah, again, Shelley Lewis on Facebook or the Plain Truth documentary on Facebook. And again, they have a GoFundMe if you want to support their endeavor.
Cool. Shout out to them.
Trav, I meant to ask you, is that a coincidence, the name of the documentary? Are you involved? Or?
It's yeah. I'm on the creative team, but it was complete happenstance. They did a poll for what they wanted the title to be. I threw in the Plain Truth, and everybody voted on it, so it was consensus for the voting of the name.
Oh, that's cool. It's a good name, though. Right, Paul. I'm not going to let anybody else trample all over you. Go ahead.
Okay. Just to kind of go back to kind of recap, I don't think we finished it, but to make a point, let me just ask this question first of all before we get back into it. Are words conventions? Words. Especially John.
What?
If John can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you. What's your question?
Are words conventions?
Man made them, yes.
Okay. So when we have a conversation, the best thing we can do is try to come up, even though we might be using a specific word, we got to agree on the meaning of that word. So however someone defines the word, we can use that word as long as we agree on the definition, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So back to what we were saying before. I mean, I understand the point of science, but I've said this before. If you purely define the word science itself, the word means knowledge. That's what it means. If you say the scientific method, that to me is different. Those meanings are different.
You're jumping a
the
step.
Scientific.
You're jumping a step. Science means knowledge. So then you go to what type of science you're talking about. Natural science is the next definition.
Right. So you got to define what natural means, which means nothing that's man-made. So
exactly.
we can all start. That's only my point. Like what I was trying to say, Nathan actually summed it up. What I was trying to say. I think there's a cause and effect relationship within technology, but that's not natural in the sense it's all man-made. But there's still a cause and effect relationship. Then you have a cause and effect relationship in the natural world, and I think part of what I see happening from just observation and like just watching what's going on, they started conflating those two, and I agree that they're separate. but because they see a cause and effect relationship in both the natural world and technology, they're trying to muddy. That's what they're saying. They're muddying the waters. So I think initially, when everybody were
there's a very specific reason why we're talking about natural science, though, right? Which, when I say it, it'll seem obvious, but we're talking about the world, so it definitely falls into the category of natural science, regardless of the assertion being made. Why does that boat go over the horizon? Oh, so we're definitely talking about the world that we live in, the physical and natural world, how it behaves, what it does. Well, you're going to be applying a particular method in that regard when you're dealing with the natural world and you're trying to establish the cause and effect. It narrows it right down to that particular method, doesn't it?
I would like to cite the definition for studied applied science. It states that applied science is a discipline that uses to apply existing scientific knowledge to develop more practical applications, for example, technology or inventions.
That's fine. So applied science. So let's break the definition down. Applied knowledge. We're not talking about how the knowledge was acquired before you got it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's the steps, it's the method that you use to arrive at that knowledge. That's what natural science is all about.
Exactly. So when Arwen was detailing the technology, and it's like, well, that's man-made, but ultimately speaking, some of the technology that's inside it has been derived from that method. So it's applied science. But it's not you don't have those technologies in the first instance unless you've gone through the method. So it still goes back to the origins. The origins being the method itself that gave you the cause, that gave you that scientific knowledge.
I think the only reason, I mean, I could be wrong, but I think the only reason they're fighting so hard for this is that so that we can look at experiments like Cavendish and things like gyros and say, look, those things are doing what we say they're doing. Those are giving us credibility. You know, two balls in a torsion bar, that proves gravity because that's what it is. It's natural. It's like, no, guys.
You want to be able to observe.
The same dissension into farce can be applied. So I create with really, really natural looking, in fact, real horse fur. I model a unicorn, and then I strap onto that unicorn some clever looking wires and some gadgets, and I measure some, some oscilloscopes. I've got some stuff that's got some stuff going on. And then I go, right, here's my experiment. Yeah. What's the cause of this unicorn? Well, it's not that I've made it. I can just make up a cause. Well, magical three-toed gnomes. That's what the cause is. Well, does someone ever turn around and go, that's not an experiment? What's your natural phenomena? I don't need one. Natural, man-made stuff's natural. There's my natural man-made unicorn. I'm trying to figure out the cause of it. It just descends into farce. But when they say it with an air of authority, it sounds so much more convincing. Well, we're trying to find the non-existent, can't be visible, can't be seen, can't be utilised, detected in any way, experienced in any way. Gravity. Well, why? Well, because this leaf drops. But what about when it goes up? Oh, no, that's because of gravity as well. Oh, so we've just got gravity now, have we? Why is this being foisted upon me like unicorn farts?
Yeah, like a ball floating at the top of a pool seems to prove that some force is pulling it down. That's just nonsense.
Well, follow
Mars,
it through. Follow his example through. I mean, if you want to make natural or man-made phenomena natural phenomena, what's the goal of the scientific method?
To elucidate the cause of the effect.
To prove the cause. Yeah, exactly.
No, to come to a scientific theory. That's the goal. So, how many toaster oven theories do we have? Right?
I used this exact example earlier.
Where's lawnmower theories? I mean, are they in the literature? Am I stuck behind bowling ball theories? Lawnmower theories? Does that ever happen?
Nope.
You
Nope.
see
These
how
are all
farcical
proven
this is? Just follow it all the way through. If they don't understand that the dependent variable, the effect, has to be natural, you're looking at a cause and effect relationship always in the scientific method. So you have the dependent variable, which is the effect, and the cause is the independent variable always. So put any man-made object in your dependent variable. What's the cause of it?
Man.
Yeah, man made it.
Rest.
Something interesting, Nathan, I was looking up is gravitas is the Latin word meaning weight or heaviness, but it also meant back in the day dignity, seriousness, or solemnity of manner, basically like serious. So it all goes back to that hijacking of words again. They hijacked weight and serious and made it a force that attracts everyone to a spinning ball.
Yeah, gravitas.
Exactly what I said. Like, I honestly think it was like a joke. The reason why they did that. No way. It's very clever.
Hey guys, I have a question about relative density. Does a ball floating on a pool demonstrate relative density and explain direction? Because that's what the gravity, proponents would always say is, what's pulling things down because they infer the direction down.
Down's not an objective direction.
Yeah, that's dropity. That's not gravity. Gravity says mass attracts mass.
Right. So does the ball floating in the pool, does that explain, because that kind of explains relative density all around, I think, or does it not? Is there something missing?
Well, it's
because
just a few more
now
details.
it's not moving, right? It's not
Well,
going
change that ball to an anvil. What is it going to do?
Hold on, the ball isn't moving though, right? The ball's just doing nothing. It just happily sat there. It's not going
right
up
now.
or down.
It's reached its equilibrium because of its density, its relative density. So it's not moving anymore. So it takes direction and out of it, because if it went down, it would just mean that the water was further down, because that's where the relative density would change when it moved the water.
You're kind of mixing up disequilibrium and equilibrium. So you're saying, well, is that a good, example of gravity or relative density? But well, no, it's a good example of equilibrium, but you don't have to look very far to find it. Typically, things are in equilibrium, and if they're not, they're seeking it. So what have we got on screen? The river's seeking equilibrium. Yeah, that's all it's doing. Everything else is pretty much staying where it is. There isn't things falling. There isn't things floating up to the surface. They occasionally do. Something might detach itself from the bottom of the riverbed. That might well happen every so often. Occasionally a leaf will fall from a tree. But typically, things are in equilibrium. That's the natural order of things. Things want to be in equilibrium and seek to find it. So we get Muppets that force things out of equilibrium and go, why is there a force there? Well, what force? Nothing was happening until you came along.
Right. So if the ball were 10 feet above the pool, then, and however it was being held there disappeared, it would move towards the pool, because that's where the relative, that's where it's in equilibrium. So it has that's where the equilibrium is in physical space. That's the line between something denser below it and something less dense above it.
Well, that removes the first step, though. So you did it quite casually by saying, well, the ball's in midair, and then however it got there. But that's
right.
The other side of the equation, though, isn't it? So you see this ball, and it's just doing nothing, sat there happily doing nothing. You come along, and then you insert energy to force it out of equilibrium up into the air. Well, there's a whole load of work and process that's gone on in that to get it up in the air. And then the question's asked, why does it go down? It's like you just ignored the very process that put it into disequilibrium in the first instance, and then start asking your question.
Newton's third. That's why I brought it up, because I think in this moment I just understood this, and I realized that we're lifting it up and there's energy, and then you let go and it goes down, and that is really that explains up, down, and direction completely. So there's no need for gravity. And just the ball floating on the pool.
Every action has equal and opposite reaction. So when you move that object up, you actually displaced air and move the air down. So it's going to both those are going to seek their equilibrium.
Right.
Hey.
Because I have a friend who's a meteorologist, and I'm trying to Iron Man his definition of, you know, the atmosphere, the vacuum next to a gas pressure, and he says it's a gradient. Just follow it up to his logical conclusion. It goes to zero. And I know that's a ridiculous argument. So, but and I'm with you guys, but I want to try and strongman that idea, because I'd like to come back on here and see if I can argue it, you know, against you guys. I don't think I'm going to succeed, but I think the whole idea of the atmosphere and the gas pressure gradient at the bottom of that argument is gravity. That's where you have to go.
Well said. At the bottom of that argument is gravity. Yeah, well put. What about the top of that argument? So they say there's a pressure gradient.
Guys, let me help you. I can help this guy with his question.
Hey, Anthony.
If we give the air the density value of 1, if you look up the density value of water, it comes back at 997 kilograms per meter cubed. Forget the kilograms per meter cubed, but the water is 997. The air would be 1, but the ball that's sat on top of the water is too heavy for the air, but it's not heavy enough to displace the water. So because it's not heavy enough to displace the water, but it's significantly heavier than the air, it has to sit between the two layers because there's two resistances either side. If the value of the ball was a value less than 1, it'd rise. If the value was greater than 1, just by a little tiny bit, it would sit very little. It would just be skimming the top of the water like the surface, like pond skaters do. But if the value of the ball was greater than 997, so say 1200, then it would completely displace the water until it got to a density that it could find its equilibrium if it was able to, or it lands on a rock and it still stands in its state of disequilibrium, but it's resisted by the rock it's now sat on. And we know that's true because when you look at Felix, when he jumped out of his plane, he started off at 600 miles an hour, but by the time he got towards the lower atmosphere where he pulls his parachute, he dropped right the way down to 120 miles an hour. That's because as he's falling through the denser atmosphere, as Fight the Flat Earth correctly stated, he would slow down if it was down to relative density, and that is what he did. But if you were to extract that further and imagine that instead of being the ground underneath him that's a fall arrest, imagine that was a continuous tube that went right the way through the Earth, but the density was getting more and more dense all the way through. It's 120 miles an hour. As the air got more and more dense, thicker, he would gradually start slowing down more and more and more. Carry that on to its natural conclusion, he'd end up being the egg that's submerged in the water because he's found his equilibrium. But because there's the ground there, he's got a fall arrest that stops him from finding his equilibrium. But it's also that fall arrest that gives him his weight, what we call weight. So if you don't have that equilibrium, the fall arrest, and the thing's freely able to find its equilibrium, it will find its equilibrium like the egg does when it's sat in neutral buoyancy. But because it's not able to, because there's a jump between air to water, and there's a big gap between the two of them in terms of density. That's why things perceive to go down. But what they're actually doing is displacing the air because its own weight's heavier than the air, but it's not heavy enough to displace the water underneath it because its value of density is less than the water. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
it does. And what if you went the opposite direction? So the density increases as you go down. Now, as it goes up, it would decrease. And I guess, the argument is what happens at the end of going up. We don't know because we can't get there, but there has to either be a container or is in with the relative density model. Could that theoretically, I don't know, that's not a word you guys like, but could that go to zero? And if not, what would it end at?
Your weight goes relatively up relative to the medium that you're in. So if your medium's getting thinner and therefore less weight, you're going to be relative to the medium getting thinner. You're going to appear as though you're getting heavier. And that's what they claim is. Have you ever heard of this thing called time dilation, where they get a weight and they measure it on the top of the mountain, and then they measure it at sea level, and they claim that that's demonstrating gravity by time dilation, and that's what they call. Yeah. What do they call it now? I can't remember what they call it, but they give an example where a weight is heavier when it goes up the mountain than it is at the bottom, and they claim that's because it's gravity or whatever. But the reality is, what's happening is it's the medium around the weight that's getting less dense. So you're seeing a greater disequilibrium at the top than what you were seeing at the bottom because it's closer to its level of equilibrium, and that's why there's a disparity between the two weights. You're measuring the disequilibrium between the two positions.
Mick West has tried to use that argument in the official Flat Earth and Globe discussion for gravity, guys.
I can't remember what they call it.
Sorry to
It's not the
interrupt.
Etbos effect. That's where you go up and down latitudes, but there's a name for it, and I can't remember what it's called now. But I thought it was time dilation, but I might not be getting that right. I might have got two different points mixed up. But my point is, they do use this weights up mountains point to say how if it's not gravity that's causing it, what is it? Well, the answer is it's the medium's changing around you. It's getting thinner, but your density is the same. So what's actually happening is you're getting relatively more dense than the medium that you're in. It's the same reason why you can't put weights in a swimming pool and put your total weight on it at the bottom of the deep end. So I'm 16, 17 stone. If I put the scales in at the bottom of the deep end, I can't get them scales to register 16 or 17 stone because the medium I'm in now is virtually the same as me. And the minute I touch it, I fly off it.
Yeah, and technically, if the gravity's getting weaker and weaker, the more we go up, guys, then how's that really, really weak gravity just keeping air stuck?
Gravity? You mean invisible three-toed gnomes?
Yeah, well, according to their formula, John, no, you hate gravity, but it's a
I don't
gradient.
hate it. I don't hate it. I don't hate things that don't exist.
Well, every time anyone talks about it, you repeat three-toed gnomes like a broken record. So I got it.
Yeah, that's right.
He's right, though. He's right.
Not real, John.
You can't infer that gravity's in it unless you can demonstrate it with experiments. John talks about this all the time, and he's right. That's the reason why Blue Marble Science's latest video against me, he's accusing me of pseudoscience because I'm not letting him infer that he can have gravity by inference. You can't do it.
Right.
In science,
sorry to interrupt you all. So big shout out to Rebel Rob TV for the super chat. Thank you very much indeed. Also, there's a chap called Merle trying to join rather. I don't know if he's a globehead. But if somebody on the panel is willing to drop, then maybe we'll get a globe head on the panel.
Merle's not a globe head, but he's a bit. Well, you figure it out.
I don't hate things that don't exist, by the way.
You're very agitated by it.
Is it Merle? How you doing, Merle?
Are we going to talk about my favorite color next?
Good day, Merle.
Love is not.
Hello.
Hello,
Yes.
good to have you.
I am a rational human being. Welcome. So let's do this. Let's talk about the heliocentric model for a second, shall we?
Sure thing.
Hold on a second. We're not done with this gravity thing just yet.
Shall we find some flaws in it, or are we going to
We're
accept
not done
it?
with the gravity thing just yet before you come in barging in, changing the subject. Just hold on for a second. Who was that gentleman talking about that I hated gravity?
That's Nathan Thompson, me.
Hey, Nathan. Yeah, I don't hate things that don't exist.
Oh, okay. Well, I just think it's interesting anytime anyone brings it up to immediately talk about three-toed gnomes. And I agree, it's fake. You're talking to a flat earther. I know it's fake. You don't have to interrupt everyone on the panel every time they
I
talk
didn't
about
interrupt anyone on the panel. What the hell are you talking about?
every time. It's all right, John. It's all good. I don't like gravity either. We're on the same page.
It's not that I don't like it. And I didn't interrupt anyone. What the hell are you talking about, sir?
All right, well, let's chat with the globe earther. We'll chat about it later.
Yeah, I can't wait. Let's talk about more things that don't exist. I do it for a point, right? Because everyone talks about gravity. Well, what is it? No one can define it. No one can show me. It doesn't exist. Just like invisible three-toed gnomes. No one can define it. No one can show me. Do you see the connection?
Let's talk about heliocentrism, and it's a reality designed for lazy adult children. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about a model that no one came up with on their own, but they claim, and then they say words like we and us. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the establishment and the mainstream. Let's talk about that. Anyone got anything?
I thought that was kind of all.
You got anything?
You got anything?
I wasn't.
I mean, this is flat Earth. This is the discussion. You guys have been out here years. You getting anywhere?
Yeah, I'm good with it. I'm totally at peace with it. I know it's flat.
No, and we are getting somewhere, definitely.
Every glober that comes in here leaves with a toe tag. So yeah, we are getting somewhere.
Well, isn't it dangerous to say it's flat because it could just be an enormous ball, and we only experience a flat part of it?
Unfortunately, that's not true. It has to.
Yep.
It has to
As
conform.
long as no, but it might be. But as long as we don't know, I'll bet it's more likely to be flat. But we'll figure it out eventually. Maybe.
Yeah, I'm definitely at the point where
No,
it's
no,
not
they
a
can't. They
25,000
can't.
mile wide.
There's no takebacks on their story.
No,
So it can't be
It's-
bigger.
all
No,
I'm
no,
saying
you
is
can't
it
have
is flat enough. It might not be perfectly geometrical flat because of its actual size, but we don't know this.
Right, I think we can safely say it's not a 25,000 mile sphere.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Why can't we just say it's flat when we? I mean, don't get me wrong.
Because there's still the remote possibility that it might not be perfectly flat.
Some people want to walk on walls.
I would
Right.
like, I would say so. I would assert something that like along with, like if we're gonna say that it could just be a really enormous ball, the problem with even saying that is that we've been presented with the world that we live on is a perfect sphere, and their claim that we've already been outside of this perfect sphere. We have pictures of this perfect sphere. Blah 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 blah. So it's like even with like so it's like even the narrative of itself, like if all of that other stuff is true and that we live on some type of gigantic ball and everything like that, there would be countless amounts of evidence for that, and yet we don't observe any of it. So I agree with it that maybe not being perfectly flat, but like they're like I kind of but to say that it might just be a really big ball or some other type of that's pretty overarching. I think.
That's a fantastic point, though. So, say if we found out that it was like an oblong, right?
Yeah, then
It's
God
not a sphere. It's not a sphere, is it?
Is this going to be a Dick Earth joke? If this is building up to a
No.
Dick Earth joke, get out now.
No, I promise. I'm just really the point is that they showed us this image. You know, that goes back to Universal Studios and all this kind of stuff. So this image gets shown to us, even if it turns out not to be that. I mean, that's the point, isn't it? That we've all been lied to. We've been presented a model that we didn't question for years, and then flat Earth's come along, and the skeptics step forward, and it's the quest for truth, and that's why we're all here, isn't it?
Yeah, that function's on.
Turn the background mic off.
I think I figured it. I've muted enough people to get rid of it. Sorry,
I mean,
repeat
Nathan,
your
like when
last-
I came into this like nearly 4 years ago, you were out here, Nathan.
Still am.
You know?
What do you mean?
Exactly. And I respect that about you. That's a hard line. And you've seen it all.
I think another point that I just thought of is we could say that our world is flat because it's all we know, all we're referring to is the continents and Antarctica as it's presented. And even if the world were a giant sphere, there would have to be more stuff beyond that. And we're not really talking about that. So to say the world is flat, we're referring to the current world that we're aware of.
And if it's bigger, doesn't it have to move faster than 1,030 miles an hour at the equator, which nobody can detect?
It's never going to be a spinning Earth, whatever the
Yeah,
shape is.
the sun and moon would still be moving around a large Earth. You know, I guess there's probably problems with that, but that doesn't automatically mean the rest of it.
Just out of interest, what do you mean about how Antarctica is presented to us? It's presented in a multitude of ways. Whatever would you mean by that?
Well, they present it as the bottom of the globe and a certain amount of land. And then if you look at a flat Earth model like the AE map, it's still the same amount of land, but it's around the edge. But that's what we're talking about. So if we say the world, then it's that much. But now let's just say that it were larger and there was stuff beyond Antarctica on a flat plane, or that Antarctica was a ring around our continents, and then the globe went beyond that ring to other rings of land. So to say, I'm just kind of saying that we can say our world is flat because we're only referring to the one ring that's surrounded by Antarctica.
So we've definitely got a ring now then.
Well, no, okay, fair enough.
An ice wall.
All this
You
is
don't know.
speculation.
Just before that gets rounded out, my point is that you've put yourself in a false dichotomy. So in your mind, you've got Antarctica at the bottom of a globe, or it surrounds us as an ice wall.
Think of it like this: there is no necessity for the Earth to be a ball for anything to work, but it might just in some weird way turn out to be just that. But personally, I find it very unlikely that the Earth would be geometrically a ball in a literal sense in any way.
Do you think because one can get to Antarctica by going south, that it has to be around all of the known continents?
There's a claim and a half. Oh, really? So you say that if you travel south, you reach Antarctica. How'd you come to that conclusion?
Well, Nathan,
hold on. How'd you come to that conclusion?
Sorry,
what was the question? I thought it works that way on both models. You head south, you hit Antarctica.
Works that way on what?
Well, the Glovers say you head south, you hit Antarctica. Flat Earthers say if you head south, you hit the perimeter.
Is that not proven that everyone heading south hits Antarctica? Is that
I'm
something
asking you just made. Hold on, don't get
prove that.
You just made that claim. Now I'm asking you what you have gathered as the information to make that assertion. And so far, it sounds like the Globers say you go south and you hit it, and the Flat Earthers say it. I certainly don't say that.
Okay, so that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, personally, I don't know that. I'd have to test the whole globe, or at least know a body of people that have done it that I trusted, and I don't.
Hey, Down in the Rabbit Hole said if you head south, you hit Antarctica. To Owen, so I could see how he would think.
Did
that
you just say Dearth says it?
Yeah, I've heard Dearth say it.
So. Oh, in that case, I take back everything I say. If Dearth said it.
Well, I'm just saying that a flat earther has made that claim. So.
Wow.
A human being.
No. I get it. This is a really interesting situation. No, I'm well aware of the claim that's made. Yeah, this is usually a globe head problem. I'm just saying. So where have we come to this conclusion then, other than flat earthers saying it?
Might there be enough observational or enough people that have done it, that have maybe sailed around Antarctica, being it take a long time or not long enough, however big it is.
Excellent.
But to say that continuous.
That's brilliant. Maybe you'd like to name one. I can name one.
Yeah, I don't. I think there's a very few and not enough actually, but
there's one very well documented. There's one very well documented one that claimed to go around the outside edge of Antarctica.
Was it Cook?
Ah, yep. Cook. Isn't that interesting? Any of us on the panel done it?
Well, that's what I was going to say to you, Nathan.
Not in the physical world.
Well, Math Powerland messaged me the other day, Nathan, and there are people who want to explore this place, but it seems like there's a lot of restrictions at the moment for whatever reason.
Yeah, okay. It's called the Antarctic Treaty.
So, okay. And
we're all fresh out of break.
Well, we don't have freedom of movement as human beings on this earth. What do you think about that?
What's that got to do with this assertion that we can head south and hit Antarctica?
Well, I live in Australia. There's where I was born, it's Victoria. Underneath that, you have Tasmania. Between that, you have Bass Strait. After Tasmania, on the map, all that's down below is Antarctica. That's it. That's what everybody was taught in school.
I understand the claim. I get it. But if you're saying, well, the claim's on the table, but it's really difficult to prove that claim, there's loads of restrictions. Oh, right. So do we just accept the claim because it's really difficult to prove or disprove?
Nathan's waiting for you to say, I made the claim and I don't have any real evidence.
No, I didn't make the claim. I know people who've been to Antarctica. That doesn't prove the Earth's a sphere.
No, I'm not saying that. This is regardless of the spherical. These are flat earthers on the panel making this claim that we can head south and hit Antarctica.
Mm-hmm.
No one's done it though, and apparently it's really difficult to do, if not impossible, because of the restrictions from the people who give us the maps that tell us that it's south in all directions. Just saying.
Yeah. And we're always at the top of the ball when we're at the bottom of the ball. Well, I mean, it kind of makes sense, doesn't it?
One interesting point, Nathan, I don't hear brought up on this channel a lot, is that scientists have never reached the dynamo threshold, so they can't generate basically a compass on the molten spinning Earth. So someone needs to explain how the compasses are working on a globe. Molten metal doesn't hold magnetism, period.
Right.
I think they claim it's not all molten now. It's like a hard core within a molten core. Blah, blah.
Sounds delicious. Right, Jessica?
There's a great video. Professor Dan Lanthrop from the University of Maryland drops some golden nuggets where he says, we hope to do it in the future, but we can't do it yet.
Wait, I'm sorry, I heard my name. What happened?
No, when we get the molten iron core question, you were making assertions about sweet and juicy centers of things, namely candy.
Oh.
Ooh, chocolate.
Yes.
Is nice.
Are know their answer for why the heat isn't dissipating outward? Gravity?
I'm pretty sure they only have two assertions of anything ever. You know, gravity or Earth curve. That's it, right? It's always one of those two things.
Yeah, true.
And it's like a mantra. They just keep repeating it, and it perfectly explains everything. Just sprinkle a little bit of maths on it, and it just there you go.
And
That's
we designed a special prayer for that.
Yes.
Radius Dominus Gravitus Spiritus Sanctus Arwin. And with that, I'll say if you are watching this on the Nathan Oakley 1980 premiering stream, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Massive shout out to Retro Bill for hitting the super chat just as the show ends. And also, obviously, a massive thank you to all of today's debating panel for making this live debate possible. If you need to keep yourself occupied after the live stream is over, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video. Stay tuned if you're watching on Nathan Oakley 1980.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!